All right, class, settle down, settle down. Class is back in session for the Umbrella and Academy. I am your teacher, back after a short break. Was just a little under the weather. I'm Alex.
Summer vacation. It's been a blast, but now we're back to school for the second half of this season. We planned on doing this the whole time. I'm the bad kid in the back of the class, and I've been dead the whole time. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are going to be talking about Umbrella Academy Season 3, Episode 5, Kindest Cut. Now, if you haven't watched it, though you probably have, check it out on Netflix. But to give you a brief recap of what happens, the whole gang is trying to figure out what is going on in the aftermath of discovering the Kugelblitz that is destroying the entire world. A lot of stuff happens this episode, but mainly that's kind of it. Like, they're trying to figure it out, and they're trying to figure out what to do next, and that's sort of the place everybody's in. Some big stuff goes down that I'm sure we're going to talk about, but ultimately at the end of the episode, the stinger here, in case you're going back in your foggy memory to remember, is we meet Biker Pogo at the end of the episode. That's the cliffhanger, so more on that to come.
Pete had to be psyched about my guy Pogo popping up.
I mean, Pogo, who's all tatted up, rocking the leather, smoking the stove, just kind of living his best life over there.
He is really living his best life. And I thought, I didn't miss him, but then I saw him. So that's nice.
Yeah. It was a little weird the way they framed that up with Five. I don't remember the exact line, but being like, I was wondering when we were going to see you. And to your point, Justin, I was like, I did not wonder that, but I do like Pogo, and it's nice to see it back. Nice to see his tats. I want to see what's going on with it.
It's nice to have a second career. He was a monkey butler, right? Mm-hmm. And then to get into maybe an art form he's been wanting to practice for years. Yeah,
and to be clear, we don't know yet that he's not still a monkey butler, but a monkey butler for some bikers in this case.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan, though. Like, I watched this episode, and obviously we took a little break. Then I went to the zoo and had monkeys tattoo all over my body. So
smart. That's a smart thing to do.
It didn't go as well as in the show.
You went to monkey tattoo days?
Yeah, what a fun promotion at the zoo. It was packed.
It was packed.
A lot of people thought they were tattooing monkey. It was like a flip, but it was no, the monkeys are tattooing you.
Yeah.
So exactly. I don't want to get into the rough stuff immediately, but I kind of want to get into the rough stuff immediately.
Oh, come on, man. There was so much great stuff about this episode.
There was so much great stuff, but when I was going
back... Find out a lot.
You do find out a lot of information. The big deal with this episode, to be frank about it, is this is the episode where Allison assaults Luther, right?
Yeah.
So
there's that.
Yup, there sure is that. I mean, I feel like that's my big main takeaway from the episode. So in case you don't remember, Allison is pretty pissed off about everything that's going on with these alternate timelines. She's presented with the fact from Five and Lila that even the briefcases that travel through time are broken and not working, which makes her even more infuriated and frustrated. She's been going out and fighting with
going to fight clubs with
Diego. So drunk. She's pretty pissed off. Yeah. And getting wasted. And towards the end of the episode, Luther comes and talks to her. They have a little bit of a moment. He backs off and says, I got to go see Sloane. And she blows a gasket and rumors him to be with her.
Well, I think it's, I mean, when you wake up in the morning and then immediately start drinking, like, you're not doing good. You know what I mean? Like, you're not
an excuse. I know.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. Hold on.
I just want to like seriously talk about this. Yes, she's in a dark place.
A horrible dark place. It's not like, well, whatever. It's horrible. But I was just like, oh man, she is.
And I think Pete's saying it's a warning sign, and I think it is awful. And that scene is it was awful to watch, especially in relation to like their history. Luther sort of like finally feels like he's of all of them, like settling into a comfortable place, and then she does this to him. But it's indicative of the way these characters treat each other. They don't care about each other in the right way. They do that like kids, like a kid who breaks like a vase or something. They just don't know what to do. They can't deal with their emotions in the right way, so they always do it in the wrong way. And the only thing with this is this feels like it's crossing a line for the show in a way, for the characters, and I'm very curious how they're going to sort of reset the tone back to this sort of like wonky, like offbeat superhero show after something like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main reason I wanted to talk about it is I agree with you in terms of it crossing a line. It goes too far. I feel like, obviously, it depends on what they do with it going forward, but it definitely feels like it breaks the character of Allison in a way. You know, there are depths you can go to. I do think the way both actors played it was very good. Yeah, they did a really good job there. Back for my day job, I had talked to both them about it, and apparently there was a little less on the page and a little more in terms of how they blocked it and figured it out and worked with the director to make sure everybody was comfortable on set and with each other and how they were doing it and what they were willing to do and how far they were willing to go. So in terms of that, I do think they captured that properly. But just in terms of the plot of the show, Allison sexually assaulted Luther. There's no going back from that. You know, that happened. So it's a tough hill for them to climb back on, particularly for that character. And I understand making her dark, and I understand bringing her to this dark place and really letting Emmy Raver-Lampman, who's a great actress, explore the dark sides of character. But like you're saying, Justin, in terms of mostly this being like, hey, this is a fun show that goes to some dark places sometimes, that's a very real dark place.
And like you're saying, it's going to be hard to sort of see this character, like, because we get a scene basically right after that where she's back just doing the rest of the stuff, like that she takes Harlan, right, and then like the team sort of all talk to each other, and like I think a lot of assaulters, like they're allowed to go back to their lives, and it's on the person who was assaulted is the one left to deal with it, and that literally happens here almost immediately. So. Yeah, it's going to be hard when they confront. I'm assuming they'll have some sort of confrontation about this. I haven't watched ahead, and talk about it or something. Because if this is just the way it's treated in this episode, where it happens and then the show moves on, that would feel crazy to me.
I'm hoping with, a show that has time travel that maybe they can take it back or something, but I don't know, man. I was really surprised when.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to say as well, just because I think it's important to be very careful when you're talking about this stuff, and I'm not saying you're being uncareful. I'm just talking to our listeners directly about this. I think it would also be irresponsible to wipe it away with time travel, because we're past the Rubicon here. This is a thing that happened. Like Justin's saying, I do think we need to deal with it. And like you're saying, Pete, there are options in a sci-fi world in terms of how you move forward. But I do worry this irreparably damages this character. And one little last asterisk that I want to put there that I think I touched on before, but just in case not, just to drive it home, I think you are allowed to make characters dark, and you are allowed to make characters make poor/terrible character-breaking decisions, but it's all in how you deal with it going forward. Sorry.
Yeah, and we've talked about this.
I just wanted to be careful about this stuff.
Well, but to Pete's point, I do think that's, from a storytelling perspective, that's an interesting choice. If Allison is like, I'll just undo this with time travel, but it doesn't undo that she did it. Even if Luther doesn't, if the act doesn't happen or Luther doesn't know that it happened, she will know.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting takeaway from this. And then it becomes a thing where I undid it. I'm fine. It didn't happen. It's happened in her head as the assaulter, and she will continue to spiral downward after that, I would assume.
Yeah. And then the other question is, what does it do to Luther? Like, I don't necessarily want to see Luther going forward grappling with what this means, but it's also unrealistic if it doesn't impact him in any way, So
yeah.
We shall see. Why don't we move on and talk about some more fun stuff, Pete, since I know that's where you wanted to go. Should we talk about Klaus? That was a fun plot line.
I mean, we got to see a lot of classic Klaus, which was nice. Just him and his mom kind of scene was a lot of fun. His kind of realization that like, oh, wait, I really did die all those times was kind of a crazy thing. And then I thought I liked how also like they're all hanging out at the bar and Klaus is like, oh, yeah, I know where that thing is. Yeah, that giant cheese ball lava thing that's killing everything. Yeah. And so it was when people are together on the team and actually talking, they can accomplish so much and put things together. But it's just the frustrating kind of like them being so horrible to each other all the time.
Yeah, Klaus is usually on his own. He doesn't have his guy Ben to be his ghost
Evil
sidekick.
Ben is also tough to watch right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be. Well, I mean, maybe he's going to come around. It feels like
that would be nice.
They are going to go to the Umbrellas for help on the Ben department. But the Klaus stuff, he sort of tends to walk alone in a lot of these seasons. But I like this little journey. He's died multiple times, sort of opens up his power set a little bit, which is cool. And I love the idea that he just didn't realize. He was like, oh, shit, I have died all these times. That was a fun way to
his
play
definition of like, I thought I was a Looney Tunes character. That was hysterical.
Yeah,
that's true, though.
I wrote down the line. I thought I was one of those lovable, rascally Looney Tunes cartoon characters. Very funny. Yeah, Justin, you're totally right. It's like straight up, yes, that is Klaus. Absolutely.
And it's fun. Yeah, I like this a lot.
Me too. It is weird that he didn't realize it. I don't know if you guys watched the show Misfits that Robert Sheehan was on.
Oh, yeah.
But he, if I remember correctly, he doesn't think he has powers for like the first season, and then it's revealed at the end of the first season that his power is immortality and that he can keep dying and coming back. So it's weird that they're doing that again with him, but I'm not mad.
Starting to make me think that he just is that way. They're like, every actor has a secret, weapon, and maybe his is true.
Wait, I'm
resurrection.
sorry. Every actor has a secret weapon?
Yeah. Mine's a sword.
Robert Sheehan is a real triple threat. He can sing, he can dance, he can come back from death.
Nice. Yeah, that's just it. It's hard to keep writing it into the show, but I think they've done a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I just love the opening shot of Klaus like on the ground, but also like a lot of ground on him. Like it was just this kind of hysterical, classic kind of Klaus moment. And I was glad we got to get a little extra Klaus, in a tough episode. It was nice to have.
Oh, and it tied nicely into the Diego Stan storyline as well, like we mentioned. Just emotionally paying it off there, but also in a funny way. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Diego, really, this is a real winning episode for our guy Diego. Huh? Yeah. He's the guy who's always sad, but he's the only, it feels like he's the one who is just literally maintaining his spot and things getting slightly better. If we were to graph all of the umbrellas, he's the only one on the up.
Yeah, he's got his son. Klaus comes back to life, so he doesn't have to destroy the body. He bones down with Lila in the hotel room, in the buffalo room.
And that's the way we talk about sex. We say bones down.
It's like, you guys don't refer to it that way? You don't say time to bone down in the buffalo room?
When I was in high school, we always had bones down education classes where I sort of learned how it worked.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's the
now,
gym teacher.
Mr. Tyler, let's talk about boning down.
Yeah.
When a man bones down with a woman.
Oh my God, what is happening
in the buffalo room?
Yeah.
Sometimes a shining door opens up between them, and that's love.
That's the kind of thing that drives me a little crazy about Klaus, though, is that, like, if I was eating some kind of meat soup and then it formed into a buffalo, maybe I would kind of look into that a little bit, but it seems like he hasn't really thought about it at all.
Real quick,
what would you call a meat soup? A stew?
Nope. Meat soup.
Yep. The meat soup.
Yeah.
Isn't life just one big meat soup where you're just bonesing down with different people, different other meats?
I'm just trying to get away from Bone Town, but I guess.
Well, don't bring up meat stew. Don't bring up meat soup, which is what I took a meat soup education class in college and finally understood what sex was.
Mr. Tyler, good to see you again for the second part of our instruction, now that you're a couple of years older. Well, when one meat soup wants to touch another meat soup, we call that boning down in the buffalo room.
I was like trying to take notes, just like... Anyway, I don't know what sex is. So,
real quick to get off this topic, if you were in heaven, what kind of soup would you want? Pete, go ahead.
Oh, great call.
Oh man, I'd probably go with a tomato, with some nice bread to dip it in. You know what I mean? Maybe
tomato is your heaven soup?
Well, with the little grilled cheese, though, you know what I mean? Like a perfect tomato.
That's a meal.
We're just talking about the soup.
We're talking about soup.
No sides. Sir. No sides, Pete.
No sides. It's a heaven soup question. Come on, Pete.
Haven't you read that book from back in the day? It was so popular. There are no sides in heaven.
That's the part of the Bible I refuse to read.
Why do I have a feeling no matter what soup I'm going to mention, you guys are going to be like, that's ridiculous.
Soup, I think, is fine. Like, that's a comfort soup. No? Justin?
It's just there's not a lot going on. In the tomato
what would you go with, the gumbo?
Nah, it's too much going on. That's a hell soup. Gumbo? That's where you get good gumbo. That's the one good thing about hell. It's just everything. Gumbo, they're like, throw it in.
Well, there are ants under my fingernails, but the gumbo's good.
Gumbo's good. You can find an old boot in the gumbo if you look hard enough. This is no surprise. New England clam chowder.
All right. Jesus.
What about you, Alex? You're sitting there up on your high soapbox.
No, I'm trying to figure out how much we're allowed to have in the soup. Gosh,
how much we're allowed to have?
Well, because apparently a gumbo's too much. Clam chowder is the right amount of soup for Justin, the
100%, the
gatekeeper of heaven soup. Because when I was a kid, I always loved having pasta fagioli.
I think it's pronounced pasta fagioli.
Pasta fagioli? Okay. Yeah. I always used to love having that, but I haven't had that in a while. I feel like a good chicken soup, you just can't beat it. Though I do like Italian wedding soup.
Oh,
get those tiny little meatballs in it.
Yeah, the
tiny you like it because it's nice. I like Italian wedding night soup where everything sort of fucks a little bit.
That's where you get. That's the buffalo meat soup.
Oh my god!
It's where it's made with a consomme. They consomme the marriage. All right, I'll see you guys later.
That's it. End on a high note, right?
And on this high note, the soup show we're talking about, the meat soup.
Yeah.
Oh, to take a big step back, I did want to mention I really like the scene of Five and Klaus just drinking and chatting about, Klaus specifically tried to connect with him, being like, oh, yeah, we both have seen our dead bodies. Isn't that great? Very fun. And just pushing this relationship that makes no sense over the course of the season has been very enjoyable.
Them talking over each other, too, like the way they were doing that. Just what a cheers. He goes, salute, and he goes, up your butt. Like, it's just hysterical, man.
I do think these small moments may be where this season turns and the team can sort of get their shit together. We've reached a very low point with Allison here, but it does feel like maybe they're starting to connect in the very basic ways, the other characters.
Let's talk about the Sparrows a little bit because that's kind of off on the side. We got Ben and Faye, right, who are trying to work with Mom to figure out what's going on in the Kugelblitz. They send her eye in there. I'll tell you what, halfway
when
through
in doubt, throw somebody's eye in there. You know
exactly.
What
I mean? I still don't know what's going on with Mom. It doesn't seem to actually connect to anything that's going on in this season, even though the dialogue is fun.
Sometimes people have weird moms. I don't know what your deal is.
Fair enough.
Well, and I think that's true. But the moms feel like they're actual moms. The characters' first moms, I guess you could say, are going to be a big thing. I think there's a big reveal coming. We have the mothers of agony. I feel like this biker gang is maybe started because of their moms or by their moms. Something's going to happen here.
It's an all-mom biker gang?
Yeah, it's badass, right?
Man, that's badass.
Yeah. They go to a bar and order breast milk all the time.
What?
What? That's a badass biker gang.
What did you just do?
I didn't do it.
Just real quick, let's stay here for a second. So it's a mob biker gang that goes to the bar and orders breast milk? That's what you're going to get.
They're not babies. Like they're moms. They're not babies.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm in charge of this, but you're not allowed to be gatekeeper of soup in heaven anymore. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's been taken away from you.
Yes. Well, you can't take away. Oh, you're going to take over with your wedding soup?
Wedding soup's delicious.
Tiny meatballs.
Yeah. Tiny meatballs in a soup.
Yeah, they keep a bottle of breast milk behind the bar for the moms. That's what I'm saying.
To do what?
Moms don't drink breast milk.
That's why it's badass. That's why it's badass.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys have never been to a mom bar.
What is going on in your head that you think moms drink their own milk?
Hey, maybe we should move on to some other plot points.
So what I was saying though, with the mothers of agony,
each other's milk. What is going on?
No, they drink their own. They each have separate bottles behind the bar. I'll explain to you. I'm opening a small chain of a mom biker bar.
It's not going to do well. That is a horrible idea.
We have quite a business plan.
Hey, Pete.
Quite a business plan.
Stop.
Wow.
I'm just doing a little visual bit for here on the podcast for Pete.
Yeah, we'll post a still of that along with the podcast.
What's going on?
What I'm trying to say is it may double back because Robot
Breast
Mom.
milk?
No, Robot Mom. You really caught up on this.
Yeah.
Robot Mom, I feel like she was the early adopter with the Kugelblitz. She's like fully on board. I think maybe that'll all come together and that this whole season might be about moms.
Yeah, I think that's actually probably a very good call. They're pushing that very hard. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum, though, and talk about Victor and Harlan's relationship, which does have to do with moms, but the revelation that Harlan killed everybody's moms, accidentally, mind you, didn't mean to do it. And so Victor is trying to repair the situation by sneaking Harlan out and retake the portion of Victor's power that was given to Harlan. But, of course, the family isn't having it to the point that they want to straight up kill Harlan, which is pretty messed up, I think.
Well, there's a lot going on, but first off, it was just a little crazy to me. Victor, Harlan was like, we thought you would come back, like your mom promised you would come back, and she was just kind of like, oh, sorry. I was just like, come on, give Harlan a little bit more than that. Like say I wanted to, or I wish I could. I traveled in time. My life's kind of crazy.
And plus, that just happened. For Victor, like a couple days, right? Aren't we talking all 3 seasons of Umbrella Academy happened over the course of a couple weeks?
Well, as usual with the show, one of its biggest faults, to be frank, is people just not saying stuff. I understand people don't say things in real lives, that there are things that they hold back, but there's a certain
they might
sense
say something about breast milk that makes no sense.
No, we say whatever we want. We're very open.
We're free.
Yeah. This show is often characterized by people purposefully not saying information in order to further the plot of the show, which is annoying. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it makes sense in terms of they're a family that fights. But particularly in this episode, this is one of those episodes where it feels like everybody comes in and there's a world-destroying plot and they just veer off immediately, which maybe to some people is a feature of the show instead of a bug, but to me, it still bugs me.
Ooh, a bug that bugs you.
Yeah, buggy bug.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's sort of like all these things could be solved with a series of conversations where all the characters just work out their shit. And they don't do it. And they're good at, I think the show is good at sort of surprising us in different ways. They fuck that up. And they actually are starting to talk at this, Victor and Harlan have a lot of scenes together where they are sort of connecting a little bit, talking about mistakes in the past and all of that. I wish they actually made more of the fact that to Victor, this just happened and he was just there with the
Sissy,
the Sissy and the young Harlan. Because I think that's a good sort of reason why, hey, I can't deal with this. It just happened, and now I'm here, and there's all this other stuff happening. That makes sense, but they don't ever do that. All the characters are a little too cool for school all the time, and I say that in the Podcademy, so that they don't ever get to sort of face things in a real way.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think to go back to season 2 a little bit, one of the things that I really liked about that season that I remember us talking about was less than halfway through the season, they got past that. Like, they all had the conversation that they needed to have. And they're like, okay, fine. We're all going to go off on our separate side missions and do these things. Right. But we're going to keep checking back in with each other and we are going to fight and we are going to bicker because we're a family. And that's the idea of the show. But we're also going to do this stuff. And we're going to move forward and we're going to try to figure out this problem together, though in different and sometimes contradictory ways. Here, maybe it is a function of the fact that it's only been a couple of days for them. They've already stopped 2 apocalypses, and now here they're presented with a third one. I think we get that best with 5, who is basically like, oh my God, why does it, please, I just need like a second to breathe. But the rest of the characters seem to be in total avoidance mode most of the time. And I don't know, we broke out of that. I just want more of they don't need to say it out loud and explicate it, but I do think there needs to be a little more recognition of that, like you're saying, Justin. Potentially. Yeah. What other moments from the episode do you guys want to call out?
I just want to call out the emotional roller coaster of watching Teen Klaus for the first time, being like, oh, look, it's Teen Klaus. And was like, oh, we haven't seen this age. Oh, and then he immediately dies. And it was just like, oh, my God. It was just
what do you think about the relationship between Luther and Sloane? We only get a little bit of that, but I do think, contrary to what we've been talking about earlier on with Luther and Allison, this does seem like a really nice, settled relationship, even for this little bit.
I think they're a match.
It's great.
I think they're a match.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm just wondering how it's going to go with Luther, if he's going to open up to her or what's going to happen with that.
100%. And I'm wondering if when they reset the time stream, Sloane will cease to exist. So there's a lot of problems potentially coming with this relationship. But Luther, like we've talked about, the transformation of him from season 1 as like the sort of failing Captain America to this like goofball who's always, hard on his sleeve. I love his arc across the board. Tough things happen to him in this episode, but I hope he will be able to move past the trauma of what happened with he and Allison and find this relationship and work it out and actually get the romantic ending that I think he's earned over the course of his
to that point, I think they're starting to find the right balance for him, right? Between actually being heroic, actually like matching his body size kind of, and then also being a goofball at the same time and being a dumb lunk. But, I disagree with killing people. I don't love that in superhero shows, but at the same time, he is that scene where he's facing down Victor. He's very definitive about the stuff. I think that's the first time we've seen him in any way actually be the leader of the team as close to as they are to a team. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with hanging out with the Sparrow Academy, hanging out with Sloane, and getting this positive affirmation of, no, you actually do have power, dude. The moon is cool. Your family are jerks. And you are not the worthless thing you've been told.
He also had that line to Victor at the end. He was like, thanks for ruining everything again. And I was like, ooh, that one stings.
Yeah. I don't know if it's totally Victor's fault this time, though.
Yeah. Honestly, Victor feels like he's doing sort of the work, trying to manage everything. And that gets back to what this episode's called the Kindest Cut. The Kindest Cut wins doing sort of the least damage. And Luther's like, saving the world means making the harder calls. And I think Victor's not capable of doing that right now. Maybe he will be going forward. But I do think it puts Luther, like we're saying, into the prime position, and this season may be Luther's real hero journey.
But what was tough was Victor just said, Harlan was like, let's try to do this together. And then Victor's like, all right, well, I'm going to just ship you off. And I was just kind of like, oh, man.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens. Before we wrap up here, who gets top marks this episode? Pete, who gets top marks?
I want to say the Kugelblitz, but I'm going to go with Klaus. We got to meet Mom and hang out and have some menudo. So, it was just it was a nice time at the beach while it lasted.
I'm going to throw it out to Klaus as well. Just a great Copycat. Klaus episode. Always good to see him. He's always funny. I just had a good time watching this episode. What about you, Justin?
I want to give it up to two people. I want to say to the music supervisor for this show, always crushes it. Great music
my
throughout.
God, yeah.
At the end of the episode, there's some great music. But then in the show, I want to give it up to Diego. Diego, always sort of a weird spot on the show, a little bit on the outside, a little brooding, always trying something and getting wrecked for it. Finally he's sort of sliding into a little bit more of like a funny comedic role in this dad, may I say sexy dad situation. And then he maybe gets his relationship back on the rails, at least temporarily, for a sec. So shout out to him.
All right, there you go. If you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/comicbookclub. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about Umbrella Academy. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Podcademy on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Mama Biker Milk Bar. Milky Bobbies.
Oh, why would you say that?
No, I said a bar with the best milk. That's what I meant. I meant to say a bar with the best milk.
Okay.
The best milk. Because that wouldn't make sense.
The best milk for soups.
Yeah.
Exactly. Clam chowder.